let us prove this, that if the cross product I cross I is taken, say n times or even I times, then the set is uncountable. What was the motivation for this? For a problem, suppose you take an array as an input and you look at all possible values for A, which means cardinality of A is a variable, which means cardinality of A could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4, and it can take any natural number. Okay, since we talk about cardinality, we focus on n times. Okay. So now when you say it's fixed, then you always look at if cardinality of A is fixed, which means you always look at something like say 4, then you look at all possible values for A1, A2, A3, A4. That's all. This is equivalent to saying what is the cardinality of I cross I cross I cross I. But now the question is, cardinality of A is a variable. So it can take this or this or this, and it could be anything. So which means if you focus on the number of inputs, one has to look at all of this. It takes this union, it takes this union, it takes this union, and so on. And like this, if you take the union and this is taken n times, correct? So you list all possible arrays of size 1 and all possible arrays of size, integer arrays of size 2, integer arrays of size 3, and so on up to integer arrays of size n, because our n is a variable. Now we are interested in knowing what is the cardinality of this set. So this is precisely our input. So let me call this one as say W. Now the question is, what is the cardinality of this? Is it countably infinite or uncountable? We know that I is countably infinite. Now we want to know what is the cardinality of this set. Fine. Observe that the set W consists of list all singleton elements, that's precisely I, followed by list all pairs, that's precisely I cross I, then all triplets, that's precisely I cross I, and so on. Suppose, consider this set, say x equals 1, 2, 3. Look at power set of x. Power set of x will have singleton elements 1, 2, 3, then pairs 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3. After that you go to the triplet 1, 2, 3, and of course the empty set as well. So now for a finite set you list singleton elements, then pairs, then triplets, and so on. Now similar thing is what we are actually doing here. Only difference is the underlying set is infinite in nature. So we list all of x, that's like singleton. Then we list all possible pairs. So that because I is infinite or the underlying set is infinite, so we look at I cross I. Then we look at I cross I cross I to list all triplets. Then we look at I cross I 4 times, so on up to this many times. Which means this listing is precisely what power set of I. Correct? So this set is precisely power set of I. Now we ask this fundamental question, what is the cardinality of power set of I? If we answer this, then we indeed answer this question. So what is the cardinality of power set of I? Is it countably infinite or uncountable? So answering this question is equivalent to answering what is the cardinality of power set of I. Is it countably infinite or uncountable? Which we shall answer next. Remember, modeling this is equivalent to saying list all singleton elements, then all pairs, all triplets, and so on. If you look at a finite set like x equals 1, 2, 3, then power set of x lists singleton elements, pairs, triplets, and so on. Similar thing is what we are doing here. The only difference is the underlying set is infinite in nature. So answering this is equivalent to answering what is the cardinality of power set of I. We now show that it is uncountable, and we run an argument very similar to what we did for proving R is uncountable. So claim power set of I is uncountable. Proof by contradiction. Suppose the power set of I is countably infinite. This implies that there exists a listing of elements or enumeration. What does P of I contains? Contains all possible subsets of I. So when we say there exists listing, which means one can list the subsets in order. This implies that the listing of subsets in some order. So one can talk about the first set, second set, third set like this. And what about AI? AI is subset of I. That's precisely what we mean when we say listing of subsets in order. You can talk about first subset, second subset, third subset, and so on. Now here is our construction. So we list I over here, element number 1, element number 2, element number 3, and so on. So this could be an element from I, because there is a mapping between I and n. we know how to list. How is this possible? Because there exists a bijection between I and n. Okay. There exists a bijection between I and n, so you can list. So this could be 0, then 1, then -1, then 2, -2, 3, -3. So like that, you can list I. Now this one says you can list the subsets as well. So let me list A1, A2, A3 like this. It's a subset coming from I, which means if you look at AI, it may either contain E1 or it may not. Similarly, it may contain E2 or it may not, because these elements are from I and AI is a subset of this. So what am I saying? If A1 is like say E1, E4, E7, which means this is present, these two are absent, then E4 is present, E5, E6 are absent, E7 is present. What I will do, suppose it is like this, then we say it is 1, then 0, 0, then 1, 0, 0, 1 and so on. Then we look at A2, suppose E2, E3, E4 are present, rest all absent, then we say like this. Which means you get a binary matrix out of this listing. You look at AI, if EI is present, or EJ, if EJ is present in AI, then you say, you mark that entry 1, otherwise it is 0. Fine. So you represent all of this here, nothing is left out. Now I am going to cook a set very similar to what we did when we proved that the set of real numbers is uncountable. So I am going to construct a set, say B is like this. You focus on the diagonal entries and look at AI and EI. Okay. If that entry is 0, so you include EI. That's all. So what am I saying? You look at A1 and look at A1 comma E1. If that element is 0, then B contains E1. And now A2, E2 is 1, which means B2 will not have this. And look at A3. Suppose A3, E3 is 0, then B has A3 in it. Then look at E4, E4 is 1, so it will not. E5 is 0, then B will have E5. So far you see that E3 and E5 belongs to B. Okay, this is just an example. So the idea is this: you construct a set using this matrix. Now you see that if the diagonal entry is 1, then do not include. If the diagonal entry is 0, then you include EI into B. That's it. Now you see that B is a set. Most importantly, it is a subset of I, and B is not same as AJ for any J, because it is differing at the diagonal element, so it cannot be same. So this is true. B is not same as AJ for any J, at least at the diagonal entry they both are differing. and most importantly B is a subset of this, which means this listing is incomplete. You get a contradiction. So B subset of I is not listed in our enumeration, which means our assumption that there exists a listing is false. There exists a listing is false. This implies that power set of I is uncountable. If power set of I is uncountable, what is that we wanted to show? This is precisely our W, or set of all inputs with variable input size. Correct? We were looking at all possible inputs where the size of the input was a variable. It may not be 5 all the time, it could be 2, 10, 100, and it could even be the cardinality of the natural number set. So to establish this result, we assume that it is countably infinite, then there exists a listing or enumeration, and interestingly we are asked to list all subsets, and suppose such a listing is possible, you list them on one side and I on the other side, then you extract this binary matrix out of this collection. Then I am cooking a set, and when we proved 0, 1 we cooked an element y. Over here we are cooking a set. What it says is, you look at the diagonal entry. If the entry is 0, then you include the element, otherwise do not. You see that B is a subset in I, which is not same as any AJ. Therefore our listing is incomplete, so such a listing is not possible. Therefore power set of I is uncountable, or set of inputs with variable input size is uncountable. Fine. So using this theory, we have seen many interesting results. We started off with simple case study, how to count natural numbers and integers, and subsequently we related the theory of infinite sets with computer science. And in an attempt to bring this relation, we looked at two fundamental questions. How many different computational problems are there, and how many different inputs are possible for a problem like, say, search, and for a problem where integer array is an input. And there are many problems, but we just looked at these two. This itself brought in many insights into theory of infinite sets. And we were able to show that if the input array size is fixed, then it is countably infinite. When it is a variable, it becomes uncountable. And number of computational problems is uncountable. And we were also looking at theory of solvability versus unsolvability, and along this line, and we saw that writing an algorithm or a C program that alts or that stops, and for a problem like printing 0, 1 is not possible. For that matter, and writing an algorithm or a C program that stops on all inputs for any uncountable set is not possible, which means listing uncountable set is an unsolvable problem. And this is just a beginning, and as we move down, when we start looking at other computational problems in other domains, from say machine learning or image processing or data mining, you may come across application specific problem. Some of them are solvable, some of them are unsolvable, but to establish a result, and this theory will come handy, and it will help you to establish a formal argument to say that problem is solvable or unsolvable, or it is countably infinite or uncountable. Okay, and so we have seen this beautiful theory. More about this and its application to other domains in mathematics, all that we shall discuss as we go through this course.